let me ask you something nobody ever asks out loud. When was the last time you had a conversation, a real one, where someone actually knew what was going on inside you? Not the surface version, not the I'm fine, just busy version. The real one. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. And I mean that more literally than you might think. A 2024 Pew Research Center survey found that roughly 1 in 5 American adults reports having no close friends at all. Not few friends. 0. And that number has doubled since the early 90s. 1 in 5 people, living an entire life, going to work, scrolling their phones, making small talk in hallways, without a single person who truly knows them. Let that sit for a second. Not 1 in 50, not 1 in 100. 1 in 5. Which means that right now, in your office, in your neighborhood, in your family, the person sitting closest to you might be living with a loneliness so deep and so private they have never once said it out loud. And the part that nobody talks about. Most of them have no idea why. Here's what the world tells you when you don't have friends. It tells you you're too introverted, too quiet, too awkward, not interesting enough, not funny enough, not the kind of person who makes friends easily. And the cruelest part of that story is how quickly you believe it. But here's what nobody tells you. The reason most adults end up without close friends has almost nothing to do with their personality. It goes somewhere much deeper than that. Somewhere most people have never thought to look. And once you understand it, really understand it, the loneliness doesn't just make more sense. You start to see that it was never really about you at all. Picture this. You're 7 years old, maybe 8, and you do what children do, you reach out. You share something real. Maybe you cry when you shouldn't. Maybe you say something honest at the wrong moment. Maybe you need something that the people around you weren't equipped to give. And instead of warmth, you get silence, or dismissal, or the quiet signal that being too much, needing too much, feeling too much, comes with a cost. So you learn. The way every child learns to survive the specific emotional climate they were born into. You learn which version of yourself is safe to show, which needs are acceptable, which emotions are allowed in the room. And you build, very carefully, a version of yourself that knows how to function without asking for too much. The psychologists call this insecure attachment, and a 2026 review of research found that insecure attachment styles, developed when caregivers are inconsistent, dismissive, or emotionally unavailable, are directly linked to difficulties forming and maintaining close relationships in adulthood. Not because something broke in you, because something learned to protect you. But here's where it gets interesting. That same protection, the one that kept you safe as a child, becomes the wall that keeps people out as an adult. And here's the mechanism that makes it so hard to see. Robin Dunbar, the neuroscientist and evolutionary psychologist, published research in 2025 showing that the emotional pain of loneliness activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. The same regions. Which means loneliness doesn't just feel difficult. To your nervous system, it registers as a threat, as danger. And what does a nervous system do when it registers danger? It protects itself. So the person who grew up learning that vulnerability leads to disappointment. Their nervous system, when faced with the possibility of connection, does something that seems completely irrational from the outside. It withdraws. Not because they don't want connection. Because the part of their brain that's in charge of survival has decided, based on a lesson learned decades ago, that connection is where the danger lives. And this is where things change. Because once that pattern is in place, it creates something researchers call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's how it works. Someone who expects to be rejected, even unconsciously, takes fewer social risks. They don't reach out first. They don't share anything too real. They keep conversations at a comfortable, manageable distance. And people around them feel that distance. Not as fear, as indifference. So people stop reaching out. They stop trying to get close. And the person who was afraid of rejection experiences exactly rejection, which confirms everything they already believed, which makes them withdraw even further. A 2025 study found that young people with negative social expectations took fewer social risks, which led directly to difficulties in social functioning as adults. The expectation became the outcome they feared. The loneliness wasn't a result of who they were. It was a result of a story they'd been telling, quietly, invisibly, without even knowing it. You know what's strange? We live in the most connected moment in human history. More platforms, more ways to reach people, more opportunities to be seen and known than any generation before us. And yet, nearly 3 in 5 Americans report that no one truly knows them. That's not a statistic about isolation. That's a statistic about invisibility, about performing connection without experiencing it. Think about that for a second. 800 friends on Facebook, a full calendar, a partner sleeping beside you at night, and still completely alone. Because connection isn't proximity, it isn't frequency, it isn't even conversation. Connection is the moment another person sees the real version of you and doesn't leave. And for a lot of people who learned early that the real version of them wasn't safe to show, that moment never comes. Not because it can't, but because they never let it. Here's what nobody tells you about why this is so hard to fix. It's not a social skills problem. Most people who struggle with deep friendship are perfectly capable of small talk. They can make someone laugh. They can hold a conversation. They show up. They function. What they can't do or won't do, because it feels unbearable, is be known. There's a difference between being liked and being known. Being liked is safe. You perform, you entertain, you keep the energy up, and people enjoy being around you without ever really seeing you. Being known is terrifying, because being known means showing the parts of yourself that you've been quietly managing, editing, and protecting since you were old enough to understand that those parts came with a cost. And here's the brutal irony. The very thing that would heal the loneliness, genuine vulnerability, is the exact thing the nervous system has spent years learning to avoid. So people stay in the shallows, where it's safe, where nobody can disappoint them, because nobody ever really had them. And they call it independence. But underneath it, and most of them know this, even if they can't say it out loud, it's grief. The grief of a life spent managing the distance between themselves and everyone else. But here's the part that changes everything. The attachment research is clear on this. Psychological patterns formed in childhood are not permanent. The story your nervous system learned is not the final version of who you are. What it takes, and this is the part nobody wants to hear, is not finding better people. It's becoming someone who can receive what they already want. Think about what that means. It means taking one social risk that feels uncomfortable and not running from what comes after. It means staying in a conversation past the point where you usually change the subject. It means telling one person something true, not dramatically, not all at once, just something real, something that isn't the performance. And watching what happens. Because here's what the research actually found about people who finally break the pattern. A 2025 study published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that friendship depth in adulthood is predicted not by how many people someone knows, but by their willingness to disclose something personal. Not everything, not dramatically, just something real. That single act of selective vulnerability was the variable that separated people with deep friendships from people without them. They don't find better friends first. They become more available first. They let their guard down by 1 degree, and someone, usually the person who had been waiting for exactly that opening, steps through it. Connection doesn't come from finding the right person. It comes from finally letting someone find you. The Surgeon General of the United States declared loneliness a national epidemic in 2023. The World Health Organization estimates it contributes to 871,000 deaths every year, more than many diseases we actively campaign against. This is not a small problem. This is not a personal failure. This is a generation of people who learned, for very understandable reasons, to protect themselves from the one thing they need the most. And the way through isn't a social strategy. It isn't a list of conversation tips or networking advice. It's something quieter, harder, and more important than either. It's the willingness to let yourself be seen. By one person, in one moment, just slightly more than you did yesterday. That's not a cure, but it's a beginning. And sometimes, especially for the people who have been invisible the longest, a beginning is everything. You have never been too much. You have never been too quiet, too sensitive, too broken, too complicated for real friendship. You have only been too careful. And careful made sense once. It just doesn't have to be the whole story anymore. Because the real story, the one that starts the moment you let one person pass the performance, doesn't begin with finding someone extraordinary. It begins with being willing to be found. By someone ordinary, in a moment ordinary, in a conversation that could have stayed shallow but didn't. That's how it always starts. Not with a perfect friendship that fell from the sky. With one honest moment that neither person planned. If this video put words to something you've been carrying alone, share it. Not because I'm asking you to, but because somewhere in your feed right now, someone is watching their phone at midnight feeling completely invisible. And this might be the thing that tells them they're not. Leave a comment below, even just the word "same." You'd be surprised how many people need to know they're not the only one. And if you want to go deeper on the attachment patterns that keep us from the connection we actually need, the next video is already there.